hectic week, a week where it has been one meeting on the other. Last night, the meetings ended at, I think it was 8:05 last night. So, yeah. Okay. So we will be looking at sanitary fittings now. If we look at the drawing, and I look at the sanitary fittings that we have on the same drawing, and when I start out, we can see that what we have over here, and remember that I had included ground floor in there as well. Ground, first and second floor. And when you look at the sanitary fittings, we'd look at the water closets as well as the wash and basins. Now, I can see over there that per floor, I have 2 times water closet and I have 2 times wash and basin. So, if I have 2 times per floor, and I will then multiply by the 3 floors that I have. So, when I do my description, when I look at my description and under a subheading of sanitary fittings, I will then start up and say, water closet complete, fixed in position. And that water closet, and then it will be, of course, 2 per floor times 3 floors. And I'll also have my wash and basin with and including 2 15 millimeter chrome plated pillar taps. Now, where do I get that information from? Information that I have over there is given to us over here, as we can see. It shows me over here that I have 506 by 405 millimeter white vitreous china hand basin, complete with 15 millimeter pillar taps fixed on metal brackets, bolted to brickwork. So that there tells me it deals with my wash and basins and the pillar taps that goes in there. And above that it says Val Protea white glazed vitreous china low level water closet suite complete. So that covers my water closet. So that goes with my sanitary fittings. Okay? And then we have the next item that we have under my sundries, and I will go over to the workings of there you can see that we have my sanitary fittings, the water closet complete fixed in position, and the wash and basin with and including 2 15 millimeter chrome plated pillar taps. That's 3 and 2 off. And I have wire grating on top of the 110 millimeter diameter pipes, and there's 1 off. Now what would that refer to? That would refer to, at the top of my vent pipe, my 110 millimeter vent pipe, we will have a grating over there. It can be a wire grating. We can also have a PVC grating, which is purpose made for the 110 millimeter vent pipe that will go on top of my pipe. And if we are not sure where that is, I will then call up the drawing and show that vent pipe, the grating would go over there. Goes over there so we do not have any items falling down there that could cause blockage in any of my from any of the water closets and the like. It's there so that we do not have anything falling in there that at the bottom can create problems for us. Right. As we make our way forward, and we now look at soil drainage. The soil drainage, of course, would refer to the pipes that are now laid under the ground, these sewer pipes that will now take everything out to the municipal connection, that will take it to the sewer works, and that will take it where it gets reworked and sometimes brought back into the system, and we are at the stage where we might be recycling that same water for drinkage. But before I look at the workings there, I'd like for us to just have a look at exactly what it is and where it is that we will be measuring here. If we now had a look, we can see at the bottom, we will now be looking at from this level over here, where my pipes would now be going and leading off into the connections that will join up with the municipal connections. But I will not be looking at that drawing. I'll now change my focus and attention to drawing 34, RC034. And when I look at that, on this drawing, on the previous drawing, RC032, I indicated that where we are talking about. And I'm now looking at that section over there that has been highlighted, where we will then go in and make our way into the municipal sewer connection. Okay? So from there on, I've now measured all the 110 pipes above the ground, the connections with the water closet, the connections with the wash and basins. I've measured all of those, and all of those need to go somewhere. All of those need to go into a waste somewhere. And that is where we will now take into account what the standard system had said to us, because we will now have to excavate. We will now have to ensure that it all comes into place. We will now have to ensure that we excavate, place the sand, place the pipes, backfill, and do all of those as we make our way forward. So everything that we will be measuring now would deal with that section that I had just pointed out with a black pen over here. There is, of course, a measured node that we would have here, and that measured node would read that the soil drainage is measured from Kimberley socket at natural ground level downwards. It's just a measured node stating that the soil drainage that we will be measuring now would be from natural ground level downwards towards the municipal connection. So note so that the contractor that needs to price this is aware that everything above that ground level has already been measured. Okay? So when you start out with that, you start out first and foremost with a 110 millimeter pipe. Now that 110 millimeter pipe is, if you have a look at the height here, and this is what was scaled off the drawing, guys, and it's so unfortunate that a lot of the plumbing stuff that we do, we will have to scale that. This here, that 600 that we see there, it says it's at the wall. That is now from natural ground level being measured down. And where do I come? Why do I use 600? Because when I look at my drawing, it's not difficult to jump between. When I look at my drawing, on my drawing it tells me It tells me that if I look at the manhole sizes and the like that we are being given, it tells me that the inspection chamber is 1 meter 100 by 1 meter 100, one wall thickness, 150 mil concrete base, cast iron cover, and all of those it tells me. But when I look at on natural ground level where there is a place where we would be using, where we would measure down, I'm just trying to find that on the drawing where my depth is given to me. Oh, yes. It tells me on drawing 34, at the manhole size, it says the manhole size is 900 by 900 millimeter and the inlet is 600 millimeters below natural ground level. I can go back and I can point to that. If we do not have the drawings with us, I can over here, you can see it says there that the manhole 1 is the size 900 by 900 and the inlet is 600 millimeters below natural ground level. So that means that the pipe from my sewer pipe from natural ground level would be 600 millimeters below natural ground level, and that is where the dimension that we have just measured comes from. We have that 600 millimeter pipe that is just going down. But now, then we have ditto, but laid in trenches with the trenches elsewhere measured. So we will now look at the measuring of the trenches, that whereby we can see, and I will just maybe I can do this and save some time. I'll just not be able to write on that section where that I would be sharing now. Can you see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Nobody responding. Can you not see my screen?
No, it's not visible from my side.
Is it not visible? Okay. Let me just go out there again, upload again, and try again. Can you guys see my screen, the drawing?
Yes, it's visible now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sunday. Okay. And I'm not going to be talking. I'm not going to be talking about what it is that we have here. I'm not going to show, when I say ditto but in trenches, I'm looking at, if you can follow my cursor, at the trenches down there and all the way down to there. Okay? And I will try and jump between the two. I'm using two devices here, so I'll try and do and see how best I can go and do this. So when we're looking at what is there, when we're looking at the trenches and what the description tells me, I take it you cannot see, I've not shared my screen yet. I'll have to go out of that one. Thought it would work. Okay, but there you can see my screen, and just think about what I just shown you insofar as the drawing is concerned. So when we look at, we say that we will have 110 millimeter diameter pipes in trenches, and the trenches elsewhere measured. We will now start off by saying that this is now from the building to manhole 1. And I'm going to have to, I thought I could do this. I'm going to have to do it like this. Tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Because you're seeing the drawing. Are you seeing the drawing?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we go in and say that from the building to manhole 1, and now this is all being scaled based on the scale of 1 is to 50. It will be that section from there to there, and that is 155. 1.55. It's a building to manhole 1. We then go across and we say 8 meters from manhole 1 to the rotting eye. That is 8 meters. I then have from my rotting eye to the connection, to the municipal connection, I have 5 meter 950. Why do you think why do you think I'm saying that I'm measuring from the connection over there to the municipal connection? Why do you think I'm not, why am I not measuring from the rotting eye at the back end to the connection? Anybody want to try and say why they think that we are not measuring from there? Anybody? Why are we not measuring from? Come on, guys, you need to talk to me. You need to talk to me. You need to communicate with me. Otherwise, I will not know whether you are on board with me or not.
We're not bored, sir.
You're not on board with me. My question is, why do you think I am measuring, when I measure the sewer, the excavation, or for not excavation, the pipe, why do you think you were with me when I measured that, right? You were with me. You were with me. You were with me when I measured that. Right? You got that? Now I'm saying to you, why do you think I'm measuring from there to there and not taking it from there to there? As you can see, the red line is longer than my black line. Why do you think that is?
Sir, I think I'm not 100% confident in my answer, but I'm thinking that you might be using a center line and you are going to the center of your, maybe it's your bend or rotting eye.
Okay. What is a rotting eye? Do we know what a rotting eye is?
Yes.
Are we aware that the rotting eye sits there? You're aware of that? If a rotting eye sits there, so that if there's any blockage in this line, the rotting eye can go down there and it can be cleaned down there. And that is always in the direction of the fall of my line. Okay? So can we see that section there, why I had measured from there down there and not from that point, which is that point there? Can we understand what I've just said?
Yes, and maybe also to add that whenever we encounter bends and we deviate from a straight line, we do need to put rotting eyes because the blockage is like that sort of bend.
Yeah. And what will happen over here? What will happen over there? I would now have so that will be to my rotting eye, and this would be a junction over there where the flow would be, where this here would be from that direction, and that there would be down that direction. So we would have a junction over here, and when we have the rotting eye that has to clean, that is the direction that it would clean. It would clean in that direction so that if there's any blockage, that can be easily cleared. Okay, so this would be a junction that we would have over there, right? Okay, so now with that being said, we have now measured that from there down to there, and we still need to measure the section on the other side over there. But very importantly, I see that it says that junction is 900 millimeter below my ground level. Okay? It's 900 millimeters below, and because I've been scaling my dimensions thus far, I can draw a triangle for myself where I can say when I scale that on the drawing as 500, and I scale that, that's given to me as 900. So I can, and I assume that is at right angle. So I can now assume by saying that the tan is tan, right? By using, or not tan, I do not have to use tan, I can use Pythagoras. Pythagoras by saying 0.5 squared plus 0.9 squared, and the square root of that would then give me, come on guys with the calculators, let me hear calculators punch there. What do we get there?
$1.03.
1.03. So the length of the pipe from the RE, the head of the rodding eye, to the junction box would therefore be, and that sloping would be 1.03 meters. Everybody clear on how I arrived at that sloping length? Okay? So this 500 here was scaled the same as that 595 and that 8 meters. They were all scaled. Right. So that gives me the length of my pipes that I need to lay there for my connection of the sewer line into the main sewer. Now, in order for us to lay that pipe, we need to excavate. And before we can excavate, we need to have, again, remember, you said that where my pipe is, I will add 300 on either side. And that we said is up to 1 meter deep, according to the standard system. Right. So now when I look at, I have the length for my pipe, I have the length, and I need to determine the excavations that I have to do. And I'm just using the standard system method here, and when I look at that length we said was 1.55, and my width was 0.71, which was arrived at by adding my pipe 300 and 300. That gives me 710 millimeters overall for my width. Right. And I need my depth. What is my depth? It said to us that at the inlet, it is 600 below natural ground level. But my drawing also indicated to me that it has sand, which is 100 millimeter thick. The full length of the pipe is to be covered with sand, 100 millimeter thick, top and bottom. So I would have 100 millimeter sand over there. So I have my width of 710, and for my first dimension for that trench over there, I said that I have my 600 plus the 100 millimeter of the sand. That is my sand, and that is my inlet depth. Right? So I have 155 by 0.71 by 0.7. So that is from the wall, or from the building to the manhole. Now, when taking it further, remember I have the 0.71. When taking this further, I now know that at this level, I have 900 below ground level and I have 600 below ground level. So I would say 900 plus 100 for the sand gives me a meter, and I have the 600 plus the 100 millimeter for the sand. So I now have to determine, so it's 1,000 plus 700, all of that divided by 2, and that gives me 850 millimeter average between there and there. All with me. Right? So when I look at that, I've now calculated, I've scaled, and I realized that my length there is 8 meters. And I multiply, I have my trench width of 0.71, and I multiply that by my average of 850. That is from manhole 1 to my rodding eye, or to the junction box, my rodding eye. All with me? A thumbs up or okay, sir, something like that will help me. 100.
With you, sir.
Great. It helps, guys. When I do ask, please use the tab on your system here to just show yes, sir, thumbs up, or great, we've got that. That's, it just gives some feedback to me, so that when guys, remember, when I stand in front of you in class, physically, I can see whether there are frowns on the faces or not. But when I'm here, I do not see that. So just some feedback by a thumbs up to say yes, I'm with you, or putting your hand up and say, sir, I'm lost. If I know there's a hand up, I know that someone might be lost. I need to assist in that. Okay? Now, we make our way further. We now need to, let me clear, we remember that we have this 1,000 average there. We now have to take it further from RE to, I need to take it further from the RE to the municipal connection. But I have a question. What does the standard system say about excavating for pipes? It says that we measure up to which depth? We excavate up to which depth? Up to the depth of a meter. In successive depth of a meter. You guys remember that? Again, feedback that I would require for me to know that you guys understand what it is I'm saying is by showing a thumbs up. We measure up to a meter, exceeding a meter to 2 meters. You with me on that? Right. Okay. We with me on that. So when I look at what the depth shows at the inlet here, what does that depth show there? That shows at the inlet it is 1 meter 300. Right? If I have a look at what my description says excavate for pipe trenches not exceeding 1 meter deep and set aside for backfill or cartaway elsewhere measured. And then we have backfilling to trenches with surplus excavated material including compaction. Now if my description says not exceeding 1 meter deep, it immediately should trigger an alarm bell saying, hang on, I have 1 meter 300. Meaning that whatever it is, I will have to measure up to a meter first. You with me? You do not change the category suddenly and place this in the category exceeding 1, not exceeding 2 meters deep. Why? Why is that? And I will show this. And I will show this by drawing a longitudinal section at the top. I just trust that I'll get this right. If I draw, and I'm going to what I'm doing there, I'm showing that is meter, that's another meter, meaning that is 2 meters. Now, if I look at over this length of 5,950, at this point here, which will be on my right-hand side, which would be over there, that is that point over there. Right? That is my 900. Okay? And where is this other point down the bottom here? it sits over there, which is 1300. And the standard system tells me in successive depths of 1 meter. Can you see what is happening here? It's now a little bit out of proportion. Maybe I could fix it. That's a bit closer. But if you have a look at that there, can we see what is happening? That over there, it breaks through, right? Over there it breaks through. So what does the standard system say? The standard system says to me that I need to measure that first. I need to measure that first. The same as how you had done Madolo, the same as how you had done your excavations in normal excavation.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I just wanted to find out from, let's say, from the data that you have on this sketch, from the inlet to that junction, would you be able to calculate the gradient of the fall just from this data? Sorry if it's out of square.
You would normally be given a longitudinal sketch that shows you what the fall is, what in the natural ground level, the inlet, and all of those are. You'd normally be given that. You'd normally be given that. You would be able to calculate the gradient from this too. But what's important, what we need to understand here, is that when we do the excavation and we say that the excavation goes in successive depths of 1 meter, we need to measure that section that I've colored in yellow there. We need to measure that first. Because
yes,
all of this, remember, is determined by cost. And that is why we are doing this in the sense that we are saying that it goes from 1 meter, that we're going through the meter length first, dealing with that first, so that we can go through that over there. Is that true?
I think so. I think I can understand it from an application point of view.
From an application point of view, I'm asking. Do you think that is true? Will that work for us in this sense too?
Not sure, sir.
Mayanda?
I'm not really sure, sir, but I just want to ask, would you be incorrect if, let's say, you apply the same principle as when we measure risk of collapse, where you first measure not exceeding 1 meter and then on you measure exceeding 1 meter and not exceeding 2 meters?
Okay, we cannot really use the same principle as for risk of collapse, because remember, risk of collapse is either not exceeding 1.5 or exceeding 1.5. Remember, we do not now go, all of a sudden now go into successive depths. We do not all of a sudden do that. But what we do in this instance, as we can see, it is there. I'm now, and here I'm going to come and I'm going to correct myself with what I've now been saying. I'm going to correct myself. Is that if we look at the sketch at what we see, the 1.3 over there and the 900 over there, for this trench excavation, we would now, and I'm gonna be the first to admit that I've made a mistake here, and please do not kill me or crucify me. For this trench excavation, in our trenches, we will deal with this slightly different, in that we would take that length from there to there and we would find the average of between the 1 meter 300, which will become 1 meter 400, and the meter, which would give me an average depth of 1 meter 200. It is something that I started out with this. It's something that we have been fighting at council, particularly to do with this specific section, because we say not exceeding one, not exceeding two. And I'm one of those that fight, but we are still to convince council and the members at council that we need to change the section the same way as per how we are doing it on with general excavations and that. So for that section, we would therefore then move this into the section of exceeding 1 and not exceeding 2 meters deep. So what I'm asking is that we just set that, what I've said now, that we set that aside and let us have a look at the section over there that I need to measure that is still not exceeding 1 meter deep. Reason is we said that as we go down, that is 900, and we've calculated that as 500. So I now need to work with that and determine what it is, what the excavation would be over there, how we would get to that dimension there, because having a look at what it is that we have, what it is that we have with by 500 across, I would then therefore say that with that 500, I would still add the 100 for my sand on the side, and I would add my 100 down there for my depth, which gives me 600. So my dimension that I would have for that sloping section of that pipe there, because I now see a triangle. My excavation will be on a triangle. Can you see that? There's a triangle. Well, the minute we have a triangle, we're now dealing with a half. So I would have my 600, which is there, multiplied by my width of 0.71, which we've calculated over there, and I have my depth of a meter, which is there, and all of that times half. And that is for that excavation over there. Okay, and I know the drawing looks a little busy, but can you understand what it is that I've done over here? This will be my third dimension that is at the rotting eye, that section that is marked in red and is underlined in red. That is how my excavation would go through there. Okay. So when I go back to that, and I now need to determine the section that is now excavate for pipe trenches exceeding 1 meter, not exceeding 2 meters deep. That will now be from there to there, where the thick line is. And the backfill to trenches as before. Okay? I have my 1,000, which I've calculated. I've said that I have my meter 400 gives me 2 meter 400, divide that by 2, and it gives me an average depth of 1 meter 200. Now my trenched width, and this is where, and I'll say this is where I did not agree with guys from council when we were discussing this. Because remember what we said, the standard system tells us that where we have our trench, that we would have 300 on either side, and that will be that's what the standard system says. Okay? In this instance, I have 710. But now, I'm going down, and the standard system further tells me that when this increases, what do? I add 100 onto my excavation width. So I add 100. But what I say is the following, and this is my argument with council, is that over there, my depth, yes, is a meter. But over here, my depth now is 1 meter 400. So only part of that should have, and this should be, that is my argument with council. Can you see what I'm doing there? Or what I'm saying there? But what they are saying is that no, we take it on the average, and so we go by what they say, and we will then now be working on, because this depth here is greater than a meter, we would now add to my width. Okay. Right. So from that 710, we now become 810. So I have the trench of 5.95, which is the length of my pipe. I have my width of 0.81. Adolo?
Sir, I think I might be biased to your proposition to the council. Is there a possibility of an over measurement, the way they are just applying that standard system rule?
Yes, there is an over measurement in the way they are doing this, because what needs to happen here is, and this is where I say that I am not fully in agreement with what they're saying is that we will then have to find that, once we find that line, whatever that is there, this side would be an over measurement for that section. Can you see what I'm saying?
I agree with you, sir.
That is why I'm saying it's a fight that we have with him, and it's a fight that will not end now. There are many items that we are fighting with him on, because logic to me steps in. But I know that they are saying that, look, we are looking at we are measuring here, all of this would be measured in any event, would be remeasured as provisional. But that's what I'm saying. I say when you're a QS, you have to measure net.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we are looking at the depth, we've calculated the depth of 1 meter 200. And that is then from my rodding eye junction box to the connection to the connectivity of the municipal sewer. That clear? Okay. Then we now have to look at the sand filling that is supplied by the contractor in filling under the pipes and around the pipes in trenches. We would now have a pipe over there have our sand over there. Remember that our sand would be 100 millimeter above and below. So in essence, my sand would therefore be 100, 110, and 100. So the sand thickness for this particular pipe would be 310 millimeter. You agree with me?
Yes, sir. I think also in light of the standard system, talking about no deductions to certain diameters.
Just repeat that again, please, Matolo.
So what was the diameter that if it doesn't exceed a certain diameter, you don't need to deduct the pipe? So I was saying I agree with you with the
What is the diameter? Let us go to the standard system and see what the diameter is. It's very important that we work with that, because it's another one that I don't always agree with them on where they are. I'm just going to go out and get that standard system. Now look at the standard system. Standard system tells us if the diameter does not exceed 200 millimeter girth, then we will not deduct just get that to confirm that. Now this is something that had changed over time, where previously we had deducted that. Let's see. These are pipes. Just need to find that quickly. Okay. Bedding, that is clause 3, subsection 15. It says that bedding under and filling around pipes comprising sand, crushed stone, concrete, etc. shall be measured in meters cubed, and no deduction shall be made for pipes not exceeding 200 millimeter external diameter. Right? There shows us if the diameter does not exceed 200 millimeter, then we shall not deduct for that. So what does that mean? It means that where I will now go in and measure my But I will now go in and measure my piping. Oh no, man. Alterations. But I measure the sand for my trench. I have that depth there of 310, which was made up of 100, the pipe diameter that's made up of that there. I will now all of that, use all the dimensions that I've had, and I will not deduct. Now you notice in the section that I'd uploaded that there is a deduction for the pipe. But that has changed. So we ignore that section there. So what we'd go through and say is that sand filling that is supplied by the contractor in filling under and around the pipes in trenches. And we will do what the standard system tells us, that the sand will go in there and deduct the backfilling to the pipe trenches as before. And extra overall trench excavation for carting away the surplus excavated material to a site selected by the contractor. Still cannot forget about that. And I'll start out, it is my 1.55 times the width of 0.71. The width of 0.71, which is my 710 there, which is made up of the 300 on either side and my 110 pipe. I'm just doing that as a reminder for myself, because guys, remember, we tend to forget there's so many dimensions that are pretty close to one another, and multiply by my 0.31. So that is 1.55, 0.71, and 0.31. You can all see those. We have my 8 meters by 0.71 and 0.31. And then I have my 5.95 by 0.81 by 0.31. And then coming back to that section of the RE, that section over there, for my sand, it will now be 1.03, 0.71, 0.31. That is that section at the RE. Okay. Right. That covers the sand that goes around my pipe. Right. As we make our way forward, we move through, as I said, we do not deduct, and I can write this. Do not deduct for sand. Why? As my pipe diameter is not exceeding 200 millimeter. I'm making that note. You can make a measured note on your drawing to say, note, no deduction for sand as the pipe diameter does not exceed 200 millimeter. Then we all know that you are aware that you've worked with a standard system, that you're using that to your advantage. Okay. Let us make our way forward. I'm going to clear this here. Are there any questions? Are we good to go? Good to go. Right. No response means good to go. Okay. As we make our way forward onto our drawing, we will now start looking at our pipe fittings, our sewer pipe fittings, and all of these would be measured now as our extra over pipe fittings, because remember, wherever we've measured, where we see over here, there'll be some activity happening there. Over there, there'll be some activity happening there. Over here, there'll be some activity happening there. So it's important now that we now measure and look at the respective bends, that we will have bends, we would have junction boxes and the like. Okay? Over here, we would have a rotting eye lid that comes up, that generally sits flush with my natural ground, and those are the sections that we would now be measuring now. And when I look at, as I clear this, when I look at the measuring of all of this, we now start over, and we say extra over UPVC pipes for fittings. Because remember, when we measured, we did not measure, we measured that pipe running into that pipe. We did not take any junctions, anything into account over there. We just said we measured the length of the pipe, and that is why we are now measuring the others as extra over. Now, the 110 millimeter diameter Kimberley socket, where would that be? Where would that socket be? You guys told me last week that there's a difference in the pipes from above the ground to below the ground. Correct? Adoro said that, he said something that's a color of cream or beige. He wasn't sure what the color, but yes, the difference in the colors means that the cream or the beige pipe is used below the ground and the white UPVC pipe is used above the ground. So now when we have a 110 millimeter diameter Kimberley socket, where will that socket go? That socket would go where I have my ground level and I have my white pipe come in and joining my cream or beige pipe below the ground. So I would have one of those. That's the only place where the two meet each other. So that would be my 110 millimeter diameter socket meeting up with my pipe that goes below the ground. Okay? And then we have our RE connection. Our RE connection, that is over there. And what does that connection look like? That connection would look something like this. If this is my pipe that comes in, I'm just going to try and draw that section that I've circled there. That is my direction. That's what my pipe looks like. So I would have a junction where my RE is there, and that is what my junction would look like. And my junction box, I need to measure that will encompass all of that. And I also have a bend over there. Even though that junction box would incorporate that, we measure a bend over there. So then I have my junction. That's at the RE. This is all extra over 110 millimeter junction. That is that junction box over there. We go through, we have 110 millimeter bend. Now when I look at where all over we would have bends, where all over will we have bends? We'd have a bend, as I've just shown on the sketch that I've made over there, where this comes in there. We'd have a bend over there where the building, where my pipe comes at the bottom, where it goes towards the manhole. That is my wall. My pipe would then go there. That will be my bend. Over there, where else would I have a bend? Anywhere else that I would have a bend? Where else do you think that I would have a bend on this? Underground. Is there another bend that you can see there? There is another bend over here at the RE. And how is that? Yes, Padolo?
Oh, yes, no, I'm agreeing with you, sir.
Oh.
Continue.
There's another bend at the RE. Now, what does that bend look like? That bend would be as follows. Remember that where that pipe comes down, my RE sits over there, where this pipe comes down, and remember that we have this other pipe coming in here. You'll have that one bend there. You'll also have another bend over there. Can you see that? Because remember that this junction box that sits over here, what does that junction box look like? It is only a box that sits and that allows for, it looks something like this. And this would be the junction box that would have an opening where the flow from the manhole would come in there. Would do that, and this one would then go up there. That's my bend. So this is my junction box. So we'll have a bend there.
That's correct, sir. That's correct, sir.
Can you guys understand? Can you guys understand what I'm saying there? Some feedback to show that you do understand what it is I'm saying would be appreciated. If not, we can try that again.
Yes, sir, because since you're gonna have a white junction also there, you need that 90 degree to take your pipe up to the surface. Then you can connect it to your...
It's not really 90 degree. I'm just showing it to reflect, because it goes at that angle where
5 looks like a 45.
Yeah, that's 500, that's 900, and you'll have the box over here, so it'll go up to that, because there's a bend there, and the other one at the bottom here would come. This is now drawing, and I need to clear that in order to show that again, and then when I have on plan, the junction is there, the pipe going to the municipal connection, that one coming from manhole 1, we would also have a bend there, and the other one that I've just shown, where that sits there and going up to my rodding eye, I'll have a bend there as well. So there's bend, there's a bend, and where the wall meets, there's my other bend. So that's 3 of them. With me? Manolo?
Sir?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I might be mistaken. Is there any other degrees? I think this one going up to the rotting eye, the one would be separated from the other one because I think it's a 90 degree and this one should be maybe a 45. You distinguish that.
Yeah, look, it's right. You would be distinguishing that, yes, by doing so. But for now, I'm looking at identifying which bends are where. Because remember, we do not have that information.
Okay, sir.
You are correct in that. But remember, I do not have that information. It was not given to me on the drawing. If it was given to me on the drawing stating that it's at a 90 degree bend or a 45 degree bend or a 30 degree bend, I would be able to insert that, but I do not have that information.
Thank you,
So
sir.
what I'm doing is I'm identifying the respective bends. And I'm identifying that there are 3 of them, that there's 1, 2, and 3. My thing is, for us that are measuring this here, is for us to be sure that we have identified and that we can see on this drawing that I would now that I would clear now, and I'm going to clear the drawing that I can see on this drawing exactly where all over my bends are situated just by looking at this soil drainage site plan, and that we can identify and measure it from here. That is what I need to get across to you so that you can say, sir, I know exactly where it is you're getting them from, and that. We would look at the scenario where you are given the angle of the bend, but for now it is about identifying that. Okay? Great stuff. So, we now measured the 3 bends. Then I have 110 millimeter rotting eye lid. I've made a sketch of what that rotting eye lid would look like, where you would find that. And this is what you'd have. That's my natural ground level, and my rotting eye lid would sit over there. My rotting eye lid. Then I have 110 millimeter junction with an inspection eye. Now, what is an inspection eye? How do we distinguish between an inspection eye and a rotting eye? An inspection eye, where do we find an inspection eye? Above the ground or below the ground? We find above the ground or below the ground?
Sir, the lid should be like exposed to above the ground.
No, not the eye, not the rotting eye. I'm talking about the inspection eye.
Okay, sir, I'm unsure. I don't want to make a mistake.
Not sure.
Yeah, because I know the other inspection eye that usually also goes, maybe if you've got a long span, if you've got a very long span on your pipes, that you put, the one that's got screws in it.
Yeah, the one that has screws. Now that's the one that we're talking about here. Because remember, we are not sure. We've already measured that part.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm talking about, sir.
Yeah, right. We already measured that part. Now, and this you'll see there that it says future extension, but it also allows that there will be plumbing connectivity or waste connectivity to that. So this is the one that would have 4 screws. That's inspection eye that would then join up with them. And we would have 2 of those. Okay?
Yes, sir. That's the one I was.
Yes, the one with the screws. Okay, we have 2 of them. That's at the future extension. And then we have 110 millimeters stopped end access. Now the shape of that, so we would now have a stopped end. Maybe I should do that properly. We now have a stopped end access that will prevent, because that's direction, anything going through into ground. We have 2 of those over here and over there at the future extension. our inspection chamber. Below the ground, when we get there, we can open it, we excavate down, we can open it, and we can see, we can inspect to see whether the flow is as it should be to. If we do get that. Guys, can we just pause here for a sec? I just need a bathroom break before we get into the inspection chambers. Just give me 2 seconds. Which one do I use? Do I use the dimension that is illustrated over here, 900, 900, or do I use the dimensions that are given to me over there?
I choose the written, sir.
You choose a written?
Yes, sir.
You cannot just tell me you choose a written, you must tell me why.
Sir, I'm not sure which clause, but I think there is a clause. I'm not sure if it's either on the preamble or it's in the standard system, but there is one that gives you which takes more precedence than the other. Which one applies than the other?
I'm not sure. Did you guys do quants with me in first year? Yes. You did quants with me in first year, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did I say in first year? The bigger the detail, I always said that the bigger the detail, that is the one that you would use. Can you recall, can you remember me saying that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, which detail is the biggest? What does it mean? When you're on site, if you have a plan and there is a section, is the section a bigger detail than the floor plan?
Yes.
Sunday? You say that the section is a bigger detail than the floor plan.
Yeah, it's more detailed.
Why? There's more detail. And if a detail is given off that section that will have more detail, then that detail takes precedence over a section. So the drawing shows, and then on this drawing, it shows site plan. And the site plan generally is much less information than what my floor plan would have. And that in turn would have less information than what my section would have. And that would have less information than what my specification would have. And what is this that we have? What does that show over here? What does it show to us? It shows that this here is my specification. What does that mean? It means that this is the detail that we would use. Remember that. So this is the detail that we would use for this drawing over here. Okay. So when I now look at it, I measure, and I go in for my inspection chamber, and I look on my drawing, and I only notice that I only see one inspection chamber or one manhole. And my inspection chamber size would be 1100 by 1100. And what's the depth of my inspection chamber? 600 millimeters deep at the invert, complete with a concrete base, one brick surround, benching at the bottom, including a steel frame and covers set in position. Now, in my detail, in my description here, I've now spoken about the size of the fact that there's one brick wall thickness around it, and it also the fact that it has a concrete base, as well as my manual cover, a steel frame and cover, all of them set in position, and there's one of them. And the standard system also tells us that we can either measure it in this fashion, or we can measure the individual sections, each of the walls, the one brick wall. We can measure the concrete in the base. We can measure the concrete. We can measure them individually, and we can measure them. But that is not our concern. Remember that when we put this out in the standard system, and the contractor has to price it, the contractor will then have to go and break that down in order to determine what the actual rate is for the construction of that inspection chamber or manhole. So we are indicating, we're telling the contractor. Also remember that the contractor would also get these drawings with them. When they have to price, they will have a look at the drawings, be able to see what the components are of this manhole. So what we say is, we tell them that this is an inspection chamber size 1100 by 1100 by 600 millimeter deep at the invert, complete with a concrete base, one brick wall surround, benching at the bottom, including a steel frame and a cover set in position. Okay. There's one of them. Are we all clear on that? Happy with that? Thumbs up or a question or... Okay, silence means we are good. Right. So now we take this further. The very small class today. Is there a test or something coming up? Somewhere. So now we take it further, and I'd like for us to just have a look at just on this inspection chamber and what I've just said. I said if the inspection chambers are measured in number, then channeling at the bottom would include 750 millimeter deep at invert, and thereafter in stages of 250 millimeter. If the catch pits, junctions, stop corks are measured in number, then they are in stages of 250 millimeter deep at invert. But we're measuring this, so this is just information for us to realize that when we do measure them in number, that we need to take into account what the depth of the invert is, which we have indicated, and so. So now I look at 300 by 300 by 50 millimeter thick precast concrete inspection eye marker set in position. And that is where we would have, where we're finding our future extension. Our future extension, we're saying that it gets cast into a precast that is over there and over there, where we're saying that we have a 300 by 300 millimeter by 50 millimeter thick precast concrete inspection eye marker set in position. It is something that we place on top of the ground that has IE written on it. Have you seen that? And that, it's something like that. And it has that punch. That gives the indication of where that, of where this inspection eye chamber would be. It's just a marker that is set in position to stay, to indicate to whoever's going to work that this is for a future, that is inspection chamber is over here. To give you an idea of what it is I'm talking about, we all know that when we look at a fire hydrant, how do we know where the fire hydrant is? There's a yellow precast concrete on the side of the road, and it has FH on there, and that tells the fire department that there is a fire hydrant right next to them. The same with this, the IE, the precast concrete you see on the ground there, it tells whoever that this is the place where there is a future connection can take place. And there's two of those, right? And then we also have the testing. The testing of our soil and waste drainage pipe system and it's measured as an item. So how do we test that? And generally get tested, they either use dye to see how long it takes to run from the one end to the other. They would use dye to see just how long it would take to run from. They would cast dye in there and see how long it would take to get to there. They'll cast just a little bit, just enough for it to fall through, so they can also ascertain whether the falls are correct. Because if those falls are not correct, what would happen? You would have blockage. That's what they do. And also then we have allow an amount of 3,500. Now, allow an amount of 3,500 for a connection to the municipal soil and waste drainage. Now, who does that? Who does that connection? Can anyone connect into a municipal sewer? Guys, can anyone just connect into a municipal sewer? Can the plumber just open up and say, right, no, we're going in and we are connecting to the municipal sewer?
No, so you need to apply. And technicians from the municipality are the ones who does the connection for you.
That is why we are saying allow the amount of 3,500 for the connection to the municipal soil and waste drainage, and allow for profit and allow for attendance. Because we will not be doing that. Remember that we are saying to the contractor that this is what they would charge. This is a standard fee. This is what they would charge. You can take it right up to the connection, but the municipality or their plumbers or their technicians would then be ensuring that the connection is complete up there. So we allow for that, and the contractor is allowed to get something off that. Because the contractor still has to manage it. The contractor still has to inform the municipality that it is time for you to come out, we are ready for you to come and do the connection. Interesting. I find this plumbing section very interesting. Right. And here is another interesting section that we find ourselves at now. The water supply. We've now done with ensuring that the water that we don't have as yet is connected, that it can run away. It can run away into the municipal systems, not into the stormwater system, but into the municipal sewer system. It can run away. We've got the connectivity sorted. They can do that, and they can. But we need for all of this to be. It's useless us having a sewer system if we do not have water supply to that. Because if people now on these respective floors start using the facilities, they need to be able to wash those facilities down. So we're now looking at the water connection and the water supply, and to start out, you now look at our water inlet, where we would be receiving the water supply, or let me rather say my supply. My supply to my 3-story building. As I look at my supply to my 3-story building, you'd notice that the pipe that comes in here shows us that we have a 28 millimeter pipe coming into my building. That's my feed, is a 28 millimeter pipe. Where would that feed come from? Unlike the sewer that goes to the municipal connection, this feed comes from the municipal connection. And when we have that, we're looking at, and we get different, remember that for our copper pipes, we have different classes of copper pipes. The standard system shows us that, and that we also need to ensure that we measure those different classes of copper pipes together. We need to keep them separated. We cannot measure class 1 copper pipe with a class 2 copper pipe. So for my water supply, I will have class 1 copper pipe with brass compression fittings. It's important that we state which fittings we would be using, because currently, or nowadays, there are contractors that mix brass with copper pipes with polycarb, and they do that, which is all. There's a reason why they do that, but it's not allowed. So we say 28 millimeter copper pipe in trenches. Again, it's in trenches. We're measuring the pipe only, and we're saying here allow 30 meters of piping in the trench. That would obviously be from the meter, from the municipal connection into the meter and then into my building. But this same pipe we need to allow for a trench. And when we do our trench, the exact same principle would apply. I have my 28 millimeter diameter, and I would have my 300 millimeter on either side of my pipe. Same principle, because I would now excavate for this 30 meter of pipe trench not exceeding 1 meter deep, including backfilling and compaction. So I have 28, 300, 300, so I have my 28. My trench width would therefore be 628, and the minimum depth, if I go to my standard system, you get told the minimum depth is 450 millimeter. So I have my 30, I have my 0.63 and 0.45. That is for my water supply pipe. Now that's all just cold water. I'm not concerned with hot water, as I'm just measuring the cold water to the supply. Now, if you look at your drawing, you notice that where we have a 28, my 28 stops at natural ground. So that there, I've measured that already. I now need to measure that 28 millimeter pipe. And the height of that we've scaled, it came to, and not only because we've scaled it, it's because we've said that the depth of my pipe is 450 millimeters deep. So I'm measuring to natural ground level because I have a change in pipe diameter, the top there. I have a change of that, so I only measure the 450 millimeter length of 28 millimeter diameter class 1 copper pipe coming up from the wall, from the ground up to where it meets at ground level. Going further, As we make our way and we move through this further, knowing that from here on up, I have 22 millimeter diameter copper pipes of class 1. And we measure, this all gets, guys, this all unfortunately gets scaled. And we have that length up there is 7.5 meters. And then we measure now, and we notice that as we scale to the geyser branch. Now, where would my geyser branch be? Where would my geyser branch be? That is my geyser branch. Thus having a geyser on each floor. And scaling that, it was a meter. Then we go through the wall. There's 3 of them. We go through the wall to the geyser would be that section there. And if I can draw it off, it will go to my geyser. That'll sit over there, and the total length of that we have allow 800 millimeters for. It's 1, 2, 3. You notice further that our pipes also go down to a lower size. They go down to a lower size from the 22 millimeter down to 15. Why do you think that would be? Why does it go down to 15 millimeter from 28 to 22 now down to 15? Come on, guys, I need some response here.
From the quick hot geysers that I've seen, they've got an inlet that is 22 mil, and then the outlet, I think you put a reducer that takes it to your maybe wash and basin. The outlet goes out with a 15 mil. So in a copper pipe, that's how they are. But I'm not saying maybe it's cast in stone, that maybe there's no other diameters. But I think it's pressures. I think since you are stepping down from a larger diameter with a higher pressure from the source up until the residential unit, and then to the sink, or I think it's pressures.
Okay. Thanks, Madola. Partially correct, yes. A lot of it is correct, but what do we have? What are we feeding? What do we measure when we measure the waste? We measured wash and basin, and we measured water closet, right? We would have warm water at the water closet, right?
No, sir. No warm water there.
No warm water at the water closet. We'll have warm water at the wash and basin, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, if there was a bath in here, what size feed would we have had here? 15 or 22?
I think for the bath, you go with it. Is it 22 for the bath?
We'd have gone 22 for the bath, right?
Wash and basin 15. And
wash and basin, we have 15. So when we're looking at what is needed here and the feed that we have, we've come in with 28 under the ground. Then we reduced it to 22, and the 22 feeds all our geysers. It feeds our geyser because you need a solid supply to the geyser, right? But now from the geyser, we're reducing this further because the need there is not such that we would want 22 millimeter to go from your geyser. So 15 millimeter cold water cold water supply as well as hot water supply is sufficient for feeding my wash and basin. Again, as you rightly said, Madolo, it's about the pressure. If we have 22 mil to wash and basins only, the pressure would be, it's an overkill. So we're looking at our 15 millimeter pipes, and we look at the wash and basin branch. The wash and basin branch, getting my tongue tied here. I look at my wash and basin branch, and from my 15 millimeter, where I have my 15 millimeter, you can see this, that we have, oh, this is now very, why is it so, because I'm blowing it up. That there is 22 millimeter diameter. And on my wash and basin branch, I now have a 15 millimeter diameter feed. And I have the same on the water closet, side. So I will now, for my wash and basin feed, the cold water, having scaled that there, having scaled that, we're scaling at 1.05 meters, and I have 1, 2, 3 of those. And then I know that I have 2 wash and basins per floor, which you guys told me earlier. So the further feed up from that 1050 up the wall, up and through the wall, it therefore comes down, when we're scaling that with the extra pipe below the wash and basin, it's 500.05, and I have 2 times 3. On the water closet side, the opposite end, that having scaled that gives me 700. Gives me 700 times 3 of those. And the pipe going through the wall we're also working on 0.5, and there's 2 per floor, and there's 3 floors. That's for my cold water. That takes into account that one, and that one. It takes into account all my cold water. But the same 15 millimeter diameter that I have for my warm water, I now bring that back from each geyser. And I have that horizontal, maybe I can draw it there. Having scaled that, it is 800, and there's 3 of them. This length down here, that length down there is 1 meter 800, and I have 3 of them. Over there, where I come in from the geyser, we have that as 700 millimeters. There's 3 of them. From the geyser to the wash and basin, where this goes into my wash and basin, if I can maybe just clear that. From my geyser into my wash and basin, I have a 500 connectivity there, which is a standard that we use, and there's 2 per floor with 3 floors. Now I need for you to ask me questions if you're not sure about what I had just said here. All happy with it? Okay, great to see. So you guys understand, this is not that difficult. The other work that we're doing is a lot more difficult than this. Now we will look at the respective fittings. There's an extra overclass 1 copper pipe. Now we know that with this copper pipe, we already measured the copper pipe as if it has gone through, and we've not considered any T's, any bends, any junctions, no, nothing. We've just measured piping throughout. But where all of these come in, as you can see, you clearly can see over here, there we have a bend. There we have a bend. That is a junction. That is a bend. I'm blowing it up so large and it's actually that does not look good at all. But we have all of these elements here, and we will now look at what all it is that we will measure. So we will have, first of all, we're measuring extra over class 1 copper pipe for brass compression fittings. And for my 28 millimeter fittings, I'm measuring a bend. And where is the bend for my 28 millimeter fitting? It's my 28 millimeter bend. Right? Then I have a reducer, something that Madola mentioned earlier. We have a reducer over there, and it is a 28, 22 reducer. That is called a reducer, where we have the respective diameters joining up or meeting each other. I then have my 22 millimeter fittings. My 22 millimeter fittings, I'll just clear that again. My 22 millimeter fittings off my 22 millimeter part. 22 to 22. What do I have? I see a T. I see another T. So I see 2 T's. You see that? 2 times T's. For my bends, I see a bend, a bend, a bend, and a bend. So I see 4 times my bend. Right? But I want to add another 3 bends. I want to add another 3 times my bends. It's over there, and over there. That is through the wall to my geyser. You agree with what I'm saying there? Because how else does that pipe get to the geyser? Okay. And then, of course, my 22 mil pipe also goes into a 15 mil pipe. So I now need to, where my 22 mil pipe meets up with my 15 mil pipe, I need to have a 22 by 15 reducing T. Now, where will those be? 1, 2, 3. Right? Is that correct? Only 3.
The ones on the 15, there's more.
5, 6. So I have 2 by 3. 22 by 22 by 15 millimeter reducing T. You can see where I've placed it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All happy with that? Gustavo, happy with that? Okay. So those are, we have the fittings. And those reducing tees we find all over where I'm now branching off from a 22 millimeter, having to feed my water closet on the one side and having to feed my wash and basin on the other side. And I know that I have 3 floors, so I need to have 3 on either side, so there's 6 of those reducing tees. Then I have my 15 millimeter fittings. The fittings now that will, the same way that I had done previously, and I'm looking at my 15 millimeter fittings that would lead into my water closet. The tees, this is not just purely fittings, guys. I'm not distinguishing between, I'm just calling them all the fittings that will go into my respective areas. So, my 15 millimeter fittings, I would now have three tees of my 15 millimeter fittings that goes to my water closet. From my 15 millimeter, I have 1, 2, 3. 3 tees for my 15 millimeter fittings, and then I would have 3 times, let me write that. I say 3 times tees to my water closet. I say 3 times bins to my water closet, which is there, there, and there. Right? And then I have that pipe there where the bend is. If I draw this off my wall, if my pipe goes up there, there has to be a bend of water supply that goes to my water closet on the inside. So I'm measuring those bins there, and how many do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I have 6 times the bins, that is the connection to my water closet. You with me? All with me with what I've just written there? I'm saying it is my 15 millimeter pipe, right? As it comes up and there's a bend where it has to go through the wall to my water closet for the supply. And that bend is that bend there. Happy with that? All happy? I don't know. I don't see. All happy? Right. Now the same way that I have my tees to my water closet, I shift to the other side and I see that I have my tees to my wash and basin supply. But now remember that in my wash and basin, unlike the water closet that only had cold water to the water closet, I now have cold as well as hot water supply to the wash and basin. I'll start out with the cold water supply first. I have the cold water supply. I have 2 floors. I'm looking at my T's first and foremost. My apologies. For the cold water supply, I have a T there, I have a T there, and I have a T there. So I say 3 times my T's for my wash and basin. And then my bends, I would have a bend there, a bend there, and a bend there. So it's 3 times my bends for my wash and basin again. And again, I allow for when it goes through the wall, a bend over there, it would therefore be 6 times my bend when it connects to my wash and basin. That's for my all of these for my cold water. For the hot water supply, I would have the same thing applying here. I first and foremost have my bends. We count my bends. I'd have one bend there, one bend there, and another bend there. And I have more. I have one bend. Let me clear from the cold water supply. I have one bend there, one bend there, and one bend there. Right? Happy with that? And I have one bend there, one bend there, and one bend there. You see? I'll just circle the different bends that I've just pointed out. There, and I'll make, for this one here, I'll make a cross. For that one there, I'll make a star. Can you see my bends? So in total, I have 9 times bends for, call it for my wash and basin. Right. Now when I look at the T's, I only have one T per I only have one T, and that is over there per floor. So I have 3 times my T's, my wash and basin, and then of course I also have my wash and basin. Oh, this was wrong. This was wrong. This would not have been 6. This would be 2 times 2, 12. That should be 12. 12 because it is the same that I have 12 times bends for the connection with the wash and basin. Understand the 12 there? It is 2 That should be 6. 6 is right. Let me clear. I'm confusing myself here too now. 2, 4, 6. No, that's 6. 6 is correct, not 12. Now 6 is correct because I have 2 hot water there, 2 there, and 2 there. Yeah, 6 of those. Manolo.
Sir, I just want to find out, would it be maybe standard practice that your sanitary fittings like wash and basin, sinks, maybe showers. I'm not sure about shower, but I think, let's say, wash and basin sinks. Is it maybe, and also a WC? Would you use that braided hose, that 300 millimeter braided hose type, to connect to your 15 mil, or is it just, it depends on the spec? Maybe, I don't know.
It depends on the spec, but it depends on what the engineer designs, or what the architect wants, or what the client wants within their places.
Oh, okay. So in this case, we are just going copper pipe to the taps straight.
Yes, going copper pipe to those there. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Right. So those are for my 15 millimeter pipe that we now go through and connecting to all of those there. As we move forward, we then come in and we realize that, but all of this will just be water being fed into the wash and basin and into the water closet. Any problem with any one of the fittings inside, if there's a problem there, water will just run through. If there's a tap that doesn't work properly, water will just run out. What do we need to now do? We now need to measure taps, and we need to measure stopcocks and the like. So we first and foremost start out with a stopcock from the municipal feed. If we have to cut off all the floors, we need a stopcock for that. And we measure the taps and valves, etc. We measure 28 millimeter brass stopcock as one that will go, in all probability, will go in there. So a brass stopcock, 28 millimeter stopcock at the bottom there, to ensure that if there's any issue to the building up above, then we can clear that, cut that off there. Then we have 3 brass stopcocks to each geyser. There needs to be a shut-off valve to the geyser. So we have 3 of them over there, a 22 millimeter over there, and another one over there. Then we have 15 millimeter brass stopcocks to the cold water to the wash and basin, cold water to the water closet, and also hot water to the wash and basin. Even though I feel it's overkill, but we measure each one down there to each of the taps, a stopcock. I don't believe that one should have that many. Okay. There's also we have hot water, but where will this hot water come from? This hot water will come from a geyser, and the geysers, we will say that it's per floor, we'll have 100 liter vertical pressure geyser fixed to the wall with and including the brackets, and connecting up with pipe work, including all the connectors, including the valves, all the valves, etc. And we have 3 of those. Of course, the size of the geyser will be given, and we can then from that indicate whether it's 150, 200, dependent on what the calculations were on the determination of the geysers that we need. Then we have 22 millimeter copper overflow pipe, 700 millimeters long, connected to the geyser, including bent connector and the other end splayed. That will, of course, be from your tray to the overflow, and your geyser comes with that tray, and we also have 3 of those. They also have 15 millimeter copper overflow pipe, 400 millimeters long, with one end connected to the water closet, including the bent connector and the other end splayed. Do you know where that goes?
Excuse me, sir?
Yep.
Excuse me, sir. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. Were you saying that the geysers are mounted on a bracket on the wall?
Yeah, these ones are mounted in the bracket on the wall.
Okay. Okay. So are you also gonna have the drip trays?
They're going to have trays, and the trays are included in that there. Everything is included in there. They're still going to have a tray. And remember that the tray is important there for should there be an issue with the geyser, that the tray is in order, and that is why we have the 700 millimeter long overflow pipe
Okay, so
This
no,
is, running out.
I was under the impression that maybe the tray you would have it if maybe you are mounting it on top of trusses, maybe in your ceiling space. That's why I'm asking.
No, I'm just going by the specification that we were given. It's mounted to the wall, and your tray will still come standard, and your tray can still sit between the trusses, standard in there, but sitting under. And remember that the geyser does not sit in the tray. So that the tray is supplementary there, so that it can take anything that goes in there.
Oh, okay. So no, I think I assumed that maybe you are mounting it like vertically on the walls. Like that's what I was thinking you were saying. But
you see, you still have to have a tray, because if you don't have a tray, even if you're mounting it vertically, you don't have a tray on the inside. Then where will that water go if anything happens to it?
Yes.
Yes, onto the ceiling. Okay. So then we also have our overflow from the water closet. That comes out. That goes out 400 millimeters long. And then we have to test our piping system. We have to test the piping system item, and we also need to allow for the local authority, because we are not allowed to do anything where the meter goes, doing the connection from the municipal supply into the meter. We're not allowed to do that. That's why we allow for the local authorities, allow the amount of 2,000 Rand for the connection to the main water supply of the local authority, allow for profit, and allow for attendance, also measured in item. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of measuring a drawing like this with plumbing and the drainage all complete. Are there questions? No questions. Right. I need for you to. I'll be sending your goodies to another set of drawings to you, and I'll be sending your marks pretty soon to Ms. Sam to capture for me, so that we can look at that. And I think not the week after, but the week not next week, not the week after, but the week thereafter, we would look at having an assessment as we move forward, and I will be sending through another set of drawings, and we will determine what that test would be on. Okay, I actually have a little sketch, but I need for it to be on a projector. I don't